What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The R.O.C Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest, R.O.C, is in the building and finishing off spooky season here on The R.O.C Show. Man, I've been saving this one for a long time. And the reason why, not only because it's spooky season, not only because this is somebody that not only I've worked with before in the past and have, the utmost respect for, but because I wanted this to be something that was at maximum impact, not only for this product, but also to highlight somebody who I don't think gets nearly the spotlight they deserve. This guy is one of the most talented dudes I've ever been around, both from, an artistic standpoint and just the brain that he has and the knowledge that is dwelling within this individual is just, man, it's abundant. And I got to say thank you again to R.O.C for taking time out of his day to talk to me, because I was so honored and privileged that he was willing to do that. And obviously not everybody gets opportunities like this. So I know what's in front of me here with this product. And I definitely want to say thank you to him for, even though, we've known each other, worked with each other multiple times, but that's not the point. Whether it be on a promoter gig here in Dayton, he's been to Dayton multiple times, touring all throughout the country. Well, he was on the Spooktacular tour, which we talk about this. We were on the Spooktacular Horror Show tour together. I've worked with him for the last decade in that capacity, but even still, I feel so privileged that he was still willing to take the time to talk to me. So anyway, shout out to him, man. And I know everybody watching is going to absolutely dig this, because I love the fact that it turned out the way that it did. So anyway, I'm not going to keep babbling. Let's get into the main event of the R.O.C Show spooky season with the R.O.C after a word from my sponsor. Let's do it, y'all. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay, and I'm here for W Energy, my sponsors. Now, what is W Energy, you might ask? W Energy is clean, jitterless energy. Better than the canned stuff that you would get at your convenience stores, your gas stations, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have all that trash in it. Now, how do I know? Because I myself use W Energy. So what I've got here, a couple of limited edition flavors. For instance, W Energy puts out this stuff called Grandpa's Ginger Water. I know it don't sound that great, but it is amazing. Limited run that they came out that I've got actually multiple tubs of. I believe in W Energy. I use W Energy myself. Also, this was just released, and it's another limited edition flavor that they come out with, and it's called Pom Blom. It's pomegranate blossom. Real nice, clean flavor. And a lot of W Energy, whether it be classics like Calio Cream or the Dub Sludge, whatever it might be, it is clean energy. It's not going to make you feel all crappy at the end of the day after using it. Now, here's what I want you to do, because again, they're obviously a sponsor of mine. But what I want you to do is I want you to go to www.w.gg, order one of the sampler packs, which you get one of these cool tumblers, a part of the sampler pack. And I want you to grab one, but don't use my promo code. That's right. Don't use my promo code Who Else at checkout, because I want you to try it without thinking I'm just trying to sell you a bill of goods. Try it one time, and then when you go back to buy your second order of W Energy, then use my promo code Who Else at checkout for a 10% discount, because all you're going to do is try it. I know you're going to love it. That's how much I believe in this product, and I thank them for sponsoring the show today. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The R.O.C Show. As always, I am your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today we have an incredibly special guest in the house. This dude is one of the true pioneers of underground rap music. And from the House of Crazies to his solo grind, man, he's got a story that don't think is told enough, and has been a part of some major moments in the history of all underground fans. And I'm so fucking honored to be able to speak to him. He was actually on my very first tour I was ever on. He was a part of it as well. So I got that a special connection with him for that. And we'll get into all that a little bit later. But as the man, the myth, the legend, the R.O.C. is in the house. What is going on, my friend? How you doing?
What's up? What's up? How y'all doing? Thank you so much for having me, man. I truly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, my man. I know your schedule's busy, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, the very first thing I want to talk about, because shortly after we set this up, you released a video on your Instagram account that I saw. I'm sure it was on other accounts, but you can go on the R.O.C's Instagram account and see this, where it went over the history of how you got started. And like I said in the intro a couple seconds ago, that is one of the things that I don't think is told enough is your story and how you got started into this game. So I kind of want to touch on that at the very beginning. If you would walk us through your early beginnings and how you got into music in general as a fan and what made you want to become an artist yourself.
Well, for me, you know, I guess kind of like a lot of other people, it starts, of course, when you're way young. My age, me about to show my age here. Like for me, it was like Jackson Five, New Edition,
Mm.
things like that. So it kind of grew on me in that form, but it really didn't catch me as an artist wanting to be a singer at that time because of course at that time way back when there was really no rap, everybody was singers, you know what I'm saying? So everybody was singers. So for me it was more of the invention of like doing music, producing music for me. So it was more from a production aspect at first with me, and then it kind of got to wanting to, kind of do more of the artist thing. So that's kind of how it started for me. Quincy Jones and being one of my main inspirations, production wise. Of course, one of my favorite themes is like Sanford and Son. Quincy Jones doing that. It was incredible to me. So so it just kind of the love for it kind of grew from there, and I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to do that. I want to do that. And then it just kind of grew, man, and grew into being an artist and wanting to, hearing your first uh 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 whatever, be it jazz, be it funk, disco and all that stuff. And again, this is my age talking because again, at that time there was no rap, and then eventually, of course, hip hop was born. And then I kind of knew like, wow. So then it kind of just, spiraled from there, man. And yeah, yeah, just took that leap. Actually, me and my cousin, Evil, Evil, and we just kind of took that leap. No equipment, no nothing, and he would rap and I would just beatbox, and that's kind of how we got started, man. Yeah, and it just spiraled from there. Yeah, man.
Yeah. What artists introduced you to hip hop? Because being in that time frame that you keep talking about, like
Mhm.
you were there for the creation of it. So how did that make its way over to the Michigan area? I've always been curious about how people first listen to stuff like that.
Well, at that time again, yeah, because again, you're talking way back. It went through. It went through. I would say, uh, man, what would have been my first introduction to hip hop? I would almost say, and, and it really wasn't. I wouldn't even say maybe hip hop because it was kind of more. I don't know, Shank. What would you say? Like
Earlier part.
Blondie,
Yeah, Blondie was like the
Blondie.
first one.
Because they're like rhyming, but it wasn't hip hop at that time. So it was
Sure,
kind of
right.
more along that lines of like rhyming and things like that. Um,
Sugar
of
Hill
course, Sugar
Gang.
Hill Gang. Um, I think I don't know if it was my cousins. Probably was my cousins because my cousins was doing it, well before me. Uh, Probably got introduced through some of those things through them. My cousin Yanni and my cousin Bam. They had a group called the Out Crew, I think it was called, or something like that. But my cousin Yanni and my cousin Bam, and they kind of put me up on those different things and me kind of watching them because they was like the first cats to have like vinyl, and this is like mid 80s, and them doing the vinyl, and my cousins is doing hip hop and stuff like that. So they kind of sparked a lot of that in me too, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So at what point did it go from just beatboxing to, hey, let's try to make, something out of this? And was there even a scene in the Detroit area at that time when, you guys were trying to come up, or was that something that was just like singular to what you wanted to do?
Um, I'm sure there was a scene. That's one thing I don't like to do is say, "Oh man, yeah, well, I started like just because my little pocket doesn't mean that there wasn't other little pockets happening out there."
Sure.
So I'm
Yeah.
sure it was probably bubbling. But when me and my cousin were doing it, that was in 1988. So for us in our area, in our little scene, 7 Mile, uh, Gratiot area, for us in our little neighborhood, there was no one else in our neighborhood at that time when we
Hmm.
were doing the beatbox thing and stuff like that. We would take his mom's little recorder on my mom's front porch, and that's kind of how we would uh, do our little stuff on cassette. Back in '88, there was really no one else at that time. But then uh, we started to get to the point here where we wanted to take it a little more serious. Um, and so, of course, we had little jobs. I had a little corner store job. He had a job, and we would just save money, put it together. And at that time, also, I didn't know him at that time, but my cousin Evil, he was cool with Isham. He would tell me, that, Isham raps. Isham raps. This is before, of course, before Isham came out with anything and stuff like that. And say Isham raps. Okay, okay, cool. And me and my cousin were doing our thing. And I remember, me and my cousin uh saving our money, getting into the studio to actually produce a record. Our first one that we did, and this was like I said, probably about 88 or so. It was called Cobra Strikes. That was the name of the record. Why it was, I don't know. Don't ask why it was called that. I have no idea. But that was probably our first go round. And I remember my cousin taking stuff and showing it to, Esham. And this is before, the booming words from hell, the red tape came. That's before any of that. And my cousin would show Esham, our stuff. And at that time, our engineer, we went to a studio called Side Sticks at the time, and our engineer was Mike Clark. It was very young Mike Clark, of course, back way, way back then. Had the super long blonde hair, stuff like that. My man Mike Clark. But yeah, yeah. So that's kind of how we kind of got started, introduced. I would think, through my cousins and influences from other artists. Like I said, not necessarily hip hop, but being influenced by other artists. And then, yeah, eventually taking it to that point to get into the studio to actually, record something in a studio, man. And then my cousin and myself, we reached out to Esham, and he helped produce one of the tracks that were on me and my cousin's first cassette that we released in '91. And yeah, everything just kind of spiraled from there, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So at what point for you were you like, because I feel like every artist I've talked to, whether it be doing this show, this podcast, whatever you want to call it, or just on a personal level,
Mhm.
every artist has that moment where it's like, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Was there ever that light bulb that went off for you where you're like, you know what, this isn't just a hobby for me. I know I can make something out of this. Or was it just something that just progressively happened for you?
Okay. So for me, this is talking, just for me. My thought on doing music and me being in and things like that, I never ever thought that I could do this. I think for me as an artist, that was one of my biggest hindrances throughout my career is
Okay.
no hey, for any of y'all watching this, be confident in yourself. Be confident. I know y'all probably like, what? R.O.C? Yes, that was always my biggest problem. No confidence that I can actually be an artist out here and I can make a living at this. I've never made a living at doing music. My living always came from a 9 to 5. Always had a 9 to 5 on the side, because again, no belief in doing this music. So y'all just learned something new. So if y'all that ain't confident out there, you ain't the only one. You got artists like me out here that really was not confident and never really pushed to that degree and that level to where I'm giving it all up and I'm just going straight with the music. Even when I was out on tour, doing tours and things like that, I always had a 9 to 5 on the side, man. It's just, I just never truly had that belief. Uh, why? I, I don't know. That's something I can't tell. I don't know. I just never had that belief that I could do. Yeah, man, I could be a music artist. So for all y'all out there, again, believe in yourself, man. You can do this. Don't be me 30 years later. And now I'm starting to almost get to the point to where like, I believe I can actually do this. Yeah. Now you're in your 50s, R.O.C. You ain't 20 something no more, man. Like, where were you in your 20s? But yeah, man, for me, it was never really a thing of that. I know I can do this. I was
Yeah.
doing it, but that belief really wasn't there for me to let safeguards go. You know what I mean? Let safeguards go and and push things to that degree to where, hey man, I can actually make it. I can actually be out here touring and making a living at, doing music. So yeah, hopefully that's something everybody just learned new about me. You know?
Well, I definitely did. That's for sure. But so I totally understand what you're saying too, because like doing what we did in Menace to Sobriety, like I was always okay on stage, like never had a problem on stage,
Right.
never had a problem, talking to people, never had a problem doing the whole show aspect.
Right.
But for me, the hardest part was always like in the studio recording and writing was always a little bit of a hang up for me, right?
Okay.
So
Mhm.
what was it for you confidence wise? Because as somebody that also had confidence issues doing certain things, what was it confidence wise that you think always held you back? Or was it just an in general like lack of self-confidence uh as a whole, I guess is the way to ask that.
I would say, yeah, a little bit kind of as a whole.
Yeah.
But for me, sometimes it was always, what happens if I do make it?
Mm.
Whoa, whoa. What happens if I if I become this big star? What happens if I what ha- oh man. So that had me in a sense terrified too. I'm not never was the type of guy that, toot my own horn and things like that, but I knew I was good at what I did.
Right.
But I knew I could be 50 million times better than a lot of artists. And I knew. And sometimes that part scared me. Because again, what happens if I do make it? What happens if what happens if, yeah, you do this and you do, yeah, man, it's kind of, you said that whole aspect of things, but also it's what happens if you do.
Right.
So that kind of scared me away from things too. Again, like say performing and or writing in the studio and different things like that. This is as an artist, you're putting yourself out there, like we're doing
Right.
right now, doing this
Right.
podcast for people to judge you or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. Um you putting yourself out there for people, and for a lot of artists, I don't care who it is, a lot of artists, be it if it's Eminem, Celine Dion, all the way to the Black Eyed Peas, to whoever, it's not an easy thing always putting yourself out there to the public. And especially nowadays with social media, it's even more crazy because now you're seeing and hearing more of those opinions. Before, way
Yeah.
back at the time, we didn't see or hear a lot of that. So if everybody, the rumblings that people didn't like you, you didn't know, you didn't care. I don't know. I don't care. I don't see it. But now on the social media, you see it and you hear it. So a lot of people start to, breathe those things in, and you kind of start to believe some of the stuff. That's why they say, hey, don't read, because that's me. Like, I don't argue. I don't do a lot of that stuff on social media anyway. Because I always say
Yeah.
that, social media, internet, it's not a real place. It's like it's like this giant make-believe place where people throw rocks and they get to hide. So you got to kind of be careful with social media. You got to take that with a grain of salt. 1,000 people hate your guts. So it is what it is. Who cares? Whatever. Or 1,000,000 people love you. Great, thank you. I appreciate it. But again, just because that 1,000,000 love you, you appreciate it, you applaud it. There's that other 1,000,000 that hate you. It's just kind of that that roller coaster ride. But yeah, man. It's things are I would say, yeah, it's kind of more that combo of things of believing in yourself, and then then also not believing in yourself, and yeah, I think a lot of us as artists, we go through that part. But I never had a problem as far as like being in studio doing my thing. I'm like I'm like I'm a studio rat. I love being in here. It's my solace. Um, I love creating. My brain is so noisy with ideas. It's so noisy. So much stuff that I want to do, and it's very noisy. Uh, I think that's a lot of my problem too. It's just my brain's so noisy. You have to be disciplined enough to hone in on the things that you need to hone in on and block out everything else. And this is your focus. This is where you need to be, instead of over here, there, things like that. So, but yeah, being in studio never was an issue for me, things like that. And like I said, just that insecurity of what if you do make it? Because see, I already had the cushion of, hey, what if I don't make it? Well, I at least got a job. I can at least eat. I can eat a sandwich. I can feed myself. I can at least, feed my kids. That's cool. That's cool. So you kind of always had that I always had that, behind me, uh, propping me up. But again, to just let it all fly to the wind and really get out there and push yourself as an artist. Yeah, that was always that was always a hard sell for me, man.
Yeah, sure, sure. I definitely appreciate your candor, man. That was some good information, man. And for somebody that was always worried about making it, man, you sure did reach some super high heights. And it started from my perspective. It would have started when you linked up with House of Crazies and you got that train going. Or maybe I'm off base, I don't know. But let us know here. How did it transform from you and your cousin to that start of you joining House of Crazies, and how did you link up with Jamie and Paul?
Well, well, for me and my cousin doing our thing, we just kind of our vision on what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it just was too different.
Mm,
He wanted to do things a certain way. I wanted to do things a certain way. So it got to that point to where it was like, yeah, well, we need to go ahead and just kind of, you just kind of do your thing. I'll just kind of do my thing.
gotcha.
And me and my cousin, we had sparked throughout our neighborhood for other guys in our neighborhood to want to, hey, I want to try my hand at rapping. I want to try to do what they're doing. I want to do what they're doing, which that's what sparked uh, Jamie, Paul. Uh, there was this other guy by the name of Pelham. Rest in peace. He's passed away. There's other guy by the name of Punch. There was Lavelle. There was my brother D. We all kind of got together and formed this group called the Crazy Clan.
Mhm.
JMO, which is ABK, JMO, all of us. So we had this little crew we called the Crazy Clan, and we were going to kind of be almost like I guess like a Wu-Tang Clan before even Wu-Tang Clan. We were kind of going to be that. We were called the Crazy Clan. Um, but too many, well, let's do it this. Well, I want to do it this. Let's do it this. Well, let's do it this. And it just kind of was like, okay, that's done too. So Jamie and Paul decided, hey, we're going to start doing our own thing. Me and him are going to try to do something. And, I'm kind of doing my solo thing. And say, hey, since you two are doing something, and we're already best friends because we've known each other well before the music. We were
Sure.
kids. So we grew up together. And then, hey, well, why don't us three just get together and do something? Okay. So it's born House of Crazies, so that's kind of that thing. Um, and then, yeah, that kind of went from there, us three doing our thing. And then it got to the point to where those two wanted to do something totally separate from what I wanted to do. So they took their ball, went their way. I took my ball, I went my way. I went the way of half breed, me and Scraps doing half breed. And then they took off their way to doing Twisted. And that's kind of how that went. So yeah, man. Yeah. I was cool with them dudes well before music. I think that kind of helped us rebridge our gap after the split because we've we grew up together. That's like my family. And I know, in the Juggalo community, we all family, family. That's like my family, like Jamie and Paul, their moms, you know, you know, uh, you know, uh, their family, just like my family, So, yeah, man, yeah.
I didn't have this in my notes, but when that split happened where they went off and did their thing and you off did yours,
Hmm.
did you ever think, and I mean this as respectfully as possible,
Okay.
did you ever think they were ever going to make it to the heights that they did? Because, like, obviously, splits happen all the time, But do you think that they would go off and achieve the heights that they eventually achieved to where they're at now, or how did you think that was going to go for them?
I really didn't think they would have been at the heights that they are now.
Yeah.
Um, Reason being, is because I thought that them going with ICP, that it would, that ICP would overshadow
Mm.
Twisted to the point to where they would never go. And again, I don't mean ICP would squash them and be like, you're not doing nothing. I don't mean it like that.
Right.
I just mean ICP was ICP. So I
Yeah.
didn't think Twisted would ever, be, as large as they are. I just didn't think it would. But for them, they did and still do what most artists don't do, is they invested in themselves.
Mm.
So whatever they were doing, money wise, things like that, they took money and they would funnel it back into themselves. So they kind of grew and pushed themselves, to where they are. They pump that machine, which is Twisted. They pump that machine, Jamie and Paul. You know, but again, no, I definitely didn't think that they would be like on Half Breeds level. Me and Scraps, definitely they wouldn't have been there. They would have been well above us. But I didn't think they would have, but again, they invested in themselves. They believed in themselves, and they, achieved. They believed in themselves, man, and they really achieved. That's that part, as we were talking earlier, about having, the belief in yourself as an artist, to say, I'm gonna throw everything else to the wind and I'm gonna focus on this and I'm gonna go get it. And they had that. They had that. Thankfully, they had that. Thankfully, they didn't listen to me, because I was not the most confident. I'm still not. I wasn't the most confident guy to do those things. And again, I know. I know I know my guys, Jamie and Paul. I know they ain't super confident with it either, but they ain't scared either. They'll get out there. Right. They'll put in that work. They'll put themselves out there in front of people. That's what you need to do. Everybody's got a little fear, but you just, again, you have to put yourself out there in front of people. You gotta do it if you want to be in this business, especially now. I call this the look at me era. And what I mean by that is everything social media, everything is, hey, look at me. Look what I can do. Look at this. Everybody wants to be seen nowadays. So in this era, you have to really put yourself out there, or you will get lost in the sauce, because there's 50 million rappers, 50 million singers. Everybody sings nowadays. Oh, everybody's social media influencers. Everybody's got podcasts. Everybody's got this. So you got to put yourself out there, man. If you want to be seen, you got to put yourself out there. It's just it's really what it is now. Back then, you can do a record, hide away for a year and a half, come out with another record, and everybody's like, oh, there you. Now, man, you get lost in the sauce and all this in this game. You get lost in the sauce, brother.
Absolutely. And consistency is definitely key, because when I started this podcast, like you said, there are 100,000 million podcasts out there right now. So what is the one thing? I think the statistic is every year there are 3 million podcasts that are created every single year.
Bro.
10% of those podcasts make it past 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as putting in the work and continuing to go, and that's I think that's one of the differences in all forms of art. And we're always like, we're always fascinated when somebody makes it to that level. Like Jelly Roll is a person that I really look at more than the rest, because it's like, when I hear people say that they're Jelly Roll fans, I'm like, when did you become a Jelly
There
Roll
you
fan?
go.
Like that's my first, you know what I'm saying? That's my first part. But that man, he was confident in himself. He
Yes.
was persistent and he kept going.
Yeah.
But there's so much talent in the underground. I think like going back to what you said as far as confidence issue goes, I think the underground has trained ourselves to think like, well, there's a ceiling for us. This is our ceiling. This is as high as we're ever going to go. And success, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think success of that level goes to the people that go, forget that ceiling. I'm going to go above it.
I'm gonna go, yes, and that's it. And
Yeah.
that's to me, that's twisted.
Right.
No, I think that's it. We gotta go above that ceiling. That's Jelly Roll. Hey,
Right.
this is where I'm here. I'm doing this, doing these tours. I gotta go, above that ceiling. And you have to have that belief in yourself that you can go above that ceiling. Well above that ceiling, of like you said, this the underground, that you can go well above that. Because most, like you said, for all the podcasts that are started, most, if not all, just do not survive. Do you know I've seen something that said at least, I don't know if I'm wrong, right? I'm gonna say it's 100,000 per week, or is it a day? Songs are uploaded to Spotify and all the other what's the names. How? You're like, my God, 100-something thousand songs. So you mean to tell me in this device, I have access to all of that different music? Yes, you do. So the winners are going to be the ones, of course, the labels, because they have the money and things like that, of course, to push it. But for the people who don't, it's going to be consistency. It's going to be the ones who are constantly consistent and pushing, because that's me. I've never been consistent. My first ever solo album came out in 1996, which was I was going to say "Welcome to the Dark Side." That's something. that was a Hatchet House release back with Psychopathic. But my first ever solo album was Exposed. That was in 1996. My second ever solo album was Oh Hell No. That was in 2006. My third ever solo album was in 2017, which was Digital Voodoo. And now, finally, here we come around. I'm about to finally release another one. No consistency in there. You have to be consistent. You're talking 10 years between each. Yeah, I filled it in with other little stuff here and there, but again, no consistency. No consistency. You have to be consistent if this is what it is you're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's a man, people should have that tattooed across their forehead. Consistency. I like that you brought that word up. It's huge.
Yeah. And it's a tough lifestyle, man. And
It
this is
is.
something else I wanted to talk about because the very first time I ever interacted with you face to face was on my very first tour, like I alluded to at the intro of this. The tour was the Spooktacular Horror Show tour. Now that was my very first tour ever.
Oh wow.
And
And that was that was with Twisted and Us, wasn't it? The
yeah,
spook
you guys were doing the Zodiac imprint thing.
Zodiac.
We had Mac Lethal on the
That's right.
tour.
That's
Yep.
right. Mhm. Okay.
Yep.
Right on.
And I don't know how much you remember about that, but us being Minister of Sobriety, we got our asses kicked for 32 straight days because our bus broke down or our RV broke down every single damn day. But one of the things I remember the most about that was every single day at noon, you would come off your guys' bus and you'd immediately be on the phone putting in work, like with somebody, like whether it be,
Mhm.
something to do with the R.O.C, something to do with, like you said, the 9 to 5 back home. That from that perspective alone, like, and it's crazy to think about, that was 9 years ago. Like as we're speaking right now, I'm getting reminders of my Facebook page of that time frame.
Right.
And that was something that was my first exposure to make me think like, I don't know if I can do this on like a professional level,
Yes.
because if this is how it's gonna be,
Yeah,
like this is
it's not,
it was tough not being in your bed every single night, not
yes.
knowing where your next meal is gonna come from, not knowing if you're gonna shower today. Like that, these people think, tour, party, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know.
maybe every once in a while, but more than likely it's work. The only time you're having fun is for that 20 minutes you're on stage out of the
That's it.
23 hours and 30 minutes that it takes to get to that
To
point.
get to that.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is the hardest part that it was for me. So were there other challenges that we haven't really talked about that once you started, once things started to take off for you underground wise, like you said, you released some of those albums through Hatchet House and obviously the Magic Ninja era. Was there anything that you didn't see that was a challenge for you other than confidence issues, or was everything else? Because like you said, you're a studio rat, so obviously that's something to come natural for you. Was there any other challenges that you saw or come your way that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, it's kind of the stuff you alluded to, not being
Mm,
able to sleep in your own bed, being, a home. Because see, that's another thing. I'm a studio rat, so that means, hey, I'm a home, but I like being at home. So, you're out on the road, you're running around, you're doing this, like you're living out of a suitcase. I listen, it doesn't matter if I pulled Taylor Swift in this room right now and asked her about touring, I guarantee you she would even have some stuff like, well, I kind of wish I was home. And she probably stays in 80-star hotels.
right,
She probably flies everywhere. It's not the most fun
It's
thing
not
all the time. It's
glamorous.
not glamorous. Yeah. It's not so it's really not, but again, it's what you choose to do. I think I would have liked it a lot better if I was staying in 80-star hotels and for sure. I would love that. 1,000%. It would have made like touring a lot better. But for me, uh there were a few, unseen hiccups about that. Um, again, one being, not being at home, constantly being on the road, living out of a suitcase. Um, you know, State to state, you don't know where you are when you wake up. Half the time you're like, where are we? Oh, Washington. I thought we were in Kansas the other. Well, yeah, we were. We drove all the way. You're just, yeah. It's definitely a wild life. Um, really beyond like kind of like the touring hiccups and things like that. I don't really have a lot of, I guess throughout my life and career, I've kind of always seen a lot of those, seen or known about a lot of, little pitfalls or different things like that, I guess, throughout, the industry. So nothing truly really, had me like, oh, surprise,
right.
nothing really had me like that. Yeah, nothing really had me like that. Because again, you kind of hear horror stories. You oh, that ain't gonna happen to. Oh man, that happened to me. So yeah,
Yeah.
really nothing too too crazy out there that happened or anything like that. So
Yeah, you touched my soul on that one because I'm an introvert, and it's my wife always complains because it's damn near impossible to get me out of this house. Like even like right now, this is my basement that I'm speaking to you in.
yo,
Like if I don't have to leave this space, I don't.
that's me.
And I thought it would be different because you fast forward from the Spooktacular tour. 6 months later, George had asked me to drive the equipment truck for the Psychomania tour that May.
Okay.
And I was like, absolutely, this is going to be so much better than the Spooktacular tour.
Right.
I'm going to get actually paid to go on the road. I'm going to be put up in hotels every single night. I'm going to get per diems for food every single day. This is going to be so much better. Yeah, it actually ended up being more difficult than the last time because now I had a responsibility.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
you know,
Everybody thinks everything's gonna be so great. Yeah, no. I'm telling you, it's a life, man. And yeah, you gotta I can't even say you gotta be built for it because it's just always gonna be a challenge. So I guess you gotta be built for it always knowing that it's always going to be a challenge. Like doing stuff like that, like you said, taking the truck and equipment from state to state to state to state and hotel rooms and per diem to eat and different things like that. It's always going to be a challenge. Uh, do, you know, the music lifestyle you're gonna put in all of this work, and that's what you're gonna get back.
yeah.
Constantly. And you know, you're like, but I thought, I thought, and I thought, and I thought, and you're only going to get that back. But again, what happens is when you get that back, do you quit or do you keep going? Do you keep pushing?
Right.
That's that word you brought up earlier, consistency. And going through that and then figuring out, okay, that didn't work this way. Okay, how can I figure out a way that it could work for me next time, or this or that? And then that again, consistency and figuring out ways to basically level up each time, you know, to level up, just being consistent. There's an artist, I'm not sure if you ever heard of, his name is Russ. He's a rapper. Russ is his name. Russ is pretty big artist now. Russ probably makes 20, 30 million a year now. But when he first got started, he would post a song, I think he said daily or maybe once a week on I think it was Bandcamp, I think it is. Or is it Sound? No, SoundCloud. Yeah, it might be SoundCloud or Bandcamp. One of those. So he would post every week. This is back, like he said, when no one was listening. He would post this stuff, a song every week. And he said it got to the point he was making per month, he was pulling in a couple of $100, maybe a couple $100, not even per month. He said from his streaming and him putting out this stuff. And that's the one word he used is consistency. I kept being consistent at it. So he kept being consistent at it and he worked on the music to make the music itself better. And he kept putting it out. So it got to the point where he made a couple of $1,000s a month. Then it got to where he was making $100,000 to $200,000 a month from his streaming, from his catalog, just constantly being consistent. He said, and that's one thing I did. I stayed consistent. I stayed putting music up. I didn't quit. I didn't stop. I just kept pushing. I kept pushing, you know, and he kept pushing. And yeah, like I said, now the dude's doing millions of dollars a year, huge tours bouncing all over everywhere, all over and not just here in the States. He does a lot of stuff outside the States and everything like that. And just again, consistency. You see it on TikTok. You see people pop up, and especially me. It's like they hear me talking. It pops up in my timeline on TikTok. Yeah. And the best way that you can do content is you got to be consistent. Okay. Next video. The best way you got to do is consistency. I heard you. Consistent. I heard you. You know, I'm telling you, man, it's like that. It's like that. And it's like people are telling you, be consistent, but also be good too. I mean, not necessarily, it doesn't really matter nowadays because there's a shit ton of horrible stuff out here. You're like, how the fuck did that make it? That sold what? That person or this person or these people? are doing tours that are pulling what? And everybody's just like, that is the greatest thing I ever heard. And you're like, holy shit. They like that garbage? To each their own. It's subjective, right? Music. It's
Sure.
subjective. Everybody's gonna like what they like. But again, it's the consistent part of it. So no matter how great or shitty people think you are, I'm not gonna say, specifics, but we know people who are like, wow, and them motherfuckers actually made it. Holy shit. Holy shit. Whoa. Because they were consistent. They were consistent, consistently putting out material and putting themselves out there for people to see. So, keyword, ladies and gentlemen, being consistency. Be consistent. So man. Yeah, man.
There's a quote that I heard from Brock Lesnar years and years and years ago that has stuck with me all this time.
Right.
It's hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
All day.
And that is 100% what it is. And one of the things that's definitely one of the things that I think people, they just give up. There's plenty of people in this area, and I'm sure the same way around yours, that they could be some of the greatest musicians. It doesn't have to be rap, could be anything, could be R&B, could be pop, could be rock. They could be one of the best in the world, but they don't want to try for it. They think somebody's going to come along and discover them. I'm sorry, Eminem is an anomaly. You know what I'm saying?
There you go. And that's the truth. No one's going to discover you. They don't develop artists no more. They don't do any of that stuff. The artists develop, even like for people wanting to get signed, record labels, things like that. They don't listen. If your social media is not 500,000 or more, they don't even want to look at you, no matter how talented you are. They're not going to be like, we see the potential. You are so talented. We're going to sign you and we're going to be. No, you got to already kind of have all that built in, a lot of that stuff. And again, hard work, it beats talent. It meant all day, no matter how talented you are. Because again, it just doesn't work that way anymore, especially now. It really doesn't work that way anymore. No one cares if you're talented. In truth, nowadays, no one even cares about your music. People want to be entertained. People want to be entertained. And then eventually, oh, you do music too? Well, yeah, that was the whole point of this thing. You're like, that was the point of this thing. Oh, wow, you do music. Oh, and it sounds good. Oh, wow, I didn't know you did music. Yeah, but that's the way of the world now. That's the way of the social media. That's the way of Instagrams and TikToks and Facebooks and Reels and whatever else, Snapchats and all the rest of that stuff. It's just the way of the world now. I did see a video though. It's very, very encouraging that a lot of the younger generation are starting to look for this one young girl. She was looking to buy a CD player, to buy CDs. They're starting to try and buy hardware and things that are solid, not just, she had her iPhone. She take her iPhone and has only a home phone. She has only a hardline phone, So she took away her cell, hardwire. So she does things, and I'm just like, wow, there's hope. There's hope that everything won't be just a stream. Like somebody will actually buy a CD or buy vinyl, or reaching back a cassette, or something like that. It's just refreshing to hear that, because in this fast-paced, eat them up, spit them out, music game nowadays, it is, whew, man, oh my goodness, man, oh man, it's this music industry just eats you up and spits you out, man. Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we wind down here, over the decades you've been in the game, is there any, when you sit back and think of where you until now, from when you started till now, is there any specific memories that really stick out to you that are your favorite, that where you're like, man, I can't believe I did this? Or was it a relationship that you built? When you think of your time in music with a certain artist that you work with that means more than the rest of you, what are some of the couple of things that really stick out to you more than the rest?
Well, for me, a couple of things, and of course, because of who these people are, um, definitely one of the things that sticks out to me is me and Twisted, before they were Twisted, being on tour with ICP. Um, and part of us being out on the road, we had to also, as House of Crazies, we had to also be roadies. Really, it wasn't House of Crazies. It was actually R.O.C. at that time when we were kind of touring. They were just kind of along with me, and we just kind of did all House of Crazy stuff, because of whatever the situation was. But anyway, we would have to take, what's the ICP album? It was the guy with is it the mustache, Malenko? Was that it?
Great Malenko?
Yeah, we would have to, on this big metal thing, we'd have to take this giant face and put the giant face up on the thing, and it had this crank, and it would just kind of crank up to the what's the name. And at that time, it was like, man, this is bullshit. Man, this and that. But I think back on it, and I'm just like, that's so cool, man, that we got to actually do that. I think that was our first. Yeah, that was our first ever tour. Yeah, the ICP. Yeah, that was our first ever tour. House of Crazies. Us out doing that. And I sometimes sit back, I reminisce, think back on stuff like that, and it's just like, wow, definitely appreciate the opportunity, from ICP at that time. Of course, you're just going through the motions. But when you think back, you're like, wow, they gave us a huge opportunity. And all those little things that go on tour and things like that, and you're just like, wow, I'm out here, man, I'm out here. This is crazy. I can't believe that I'm out here. And again, at that time, you're not thinking of it like that until after. Everything's, what they say, hindsight is 2020. Yeah, everything's, later you're like, oh man, that was great, and it was. It was so cool. Another one would be when we were putting together, we were doing St. Andrew's Hall, House of Crazies. We were doing a show at St. Andrew's Hall. Forgot what the show was called. Masquerade. I'm not sure. It might have been one of the masquerades or something like that. Whatever, we were doing House of Crazies wise, and we were at St. Andrew's Hall, Detroit. And I remember us building our stage set for the House of Crazies show. We were building like a backdrop, and Monoxide's brother, Jeremy, he would, he was, we were building stage set and stuff like that. And Marshall would come through and hang out at Paul's house, and he was there with us, and we were sitting and we would be chopping it up, talking and everything, and we were building the stage set and putting stuff together. And again, this was before who he was, of course,
Sure.
Like things like that, like thinking back, memories and things like that. I got to go on tour in a tour bus, mind you. If I never do anything else in my life, man, hey, man, yeah, man, I did something with ICP. Oh, yeah, Eminem. Oh, yeah, man, I did a little something with that. Yeah, man. Yeah, this, that. it's just those are memories that I can keep. It's really not memories for other people because some people
Sure.
some people may not remember, some people don't even know, but it's just memories for me that I get to kind of hold, hold dear to my heart. So those are a couple of the things that I like. And there's another one too. I remember one day I was putting flyers out I was putting flyers out one day. This was for a House Crazy show. This was, of course, lots of years ago. And I remember flyers. I was in this parking lot, bro, and I'm putting flyers in people's, you put the flyer in the windshield wiper, So I'm like, all right, cool. And lo and behold, here, look now, coming out towards me, here's Kid Rock doing the same thing. He's out fucking putting flyers in the car, doing the same thing I'm doing. And I'm just like, oh, what's up? Hey, what up, man? It's just stuff like that, man, before everybody is who they are now. This is well before all of that stuff. That I got to be a part of that and experience some of those things and stuff like that. Those are kind of the memories kind of that I hold, that are yeah, man. Those are just again stuff that I cherish. Some of the memories I cherish and things like that. So
Yeah. I totally understand what you're saying too, because we had this on the Spooktacular Horror Show tour. We brought along this stupid little black grill,
mhm.
and it was the only way that we ate. Now, we ended up really connecting with Lex the Hexmaster on that tour, and he would
Okay.
always buy the chicken. We would always cook it.
Right.
And the stupid black grill
Yeah.
was a pain in our ass the entire time. But one of my favorite memories from that is you had gotten off the bus and we're all sitting around this grill, we're grilling chicken, and you just out of nowhere just come up and start chopping it up with us, and you start eating the chicken with us. And
Yeah.
just I say that to someone and they're like, okay. But to me, it's like,
It's
man, this was like we were in the fucking trenches and we
right.
were all sitting around this stupid grill, but having a moment with each other.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
like you said, that's a memory for me.
Yes.
That's not for nobody else's. That's not gonna matter to anyone else at all.
Right.
But to me,
Mhm.
that's one of my favorite memories. You know what I'm saying? So I totally understand what you're
Yeah,
saying when it
man.
comes to that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, my man. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on. And if there's anything else that you want to plug, upcoming projects, how people can find you, websites, anything at all, I always give the last couple of minutes to my guest. The floor is yours, my man.
Okay. Truly, I appreciate, you definitely, reaching out to do the interview. These things I don't take these things lightly because as easily as people could want to do things with you, they could not want to do things with you. It's that easy. So I truly appreciate you, reaching out to do this. Also, my socials, y'all can find me. I am the R.O.C. Of course, my Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all the rest of that good stuff. Also, I do want to let everyone know that I do have an album coming out, probably not until next year. The kinks are still being worked out on, and when I say kinks, I just mean I'm kind of down to mixing like this last song for the project. My album will be called No Direction. That's going to be my new R.O.C. album. Like I said, it'll be out sometime next year. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Again, people, y'all get at me on my socials and things like that. I'm going to start being consistent. Consistency. I'm going to start being consistent and, post some things on social. So follow me on there. Catch up with me. I love to hear, feedback as well. Criticism. I invite that too. I'm not above any of it. Constructive criticism. Man, don't just come at me and be like, man, you suck. Because I won't answer you and I might block you. I'm quick with them block with that finger. Block. Quick with the block. No, I'm messing with y'all. But again, thank you. I truly appreciate it. Be on the lookout for No Direction, the next R.O.C. album. And of course, I already got songs in the can for for probably my next projects after that. So we gonna stay consistent with it. It's definitely October right now. So shout out House of Crazies. Make sure y'all listen to the album 31. If you haven't, go over to www.mnestore.com, pick up 31, House of Crazies 31, meaning 31 years since we have released our first House of Crazies album. So 31, super dope. But anyway, that's it, man. Thank y'all so much for listening. Thank you for having me. Much love.
Oh yeah, R.O.C, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.